Hey, have you ever had that feeling you're staring at a project, a blank page, or maybe just the ceiling at 2 a.m.? There's a voice in your head, a quiet whisper that asks, "Why am I even doing this?" It's a strange kind of silence, isn't it? A silence shared by so many of us, yet we feel so alone in it. We tick all the boxes: good job, stable life, the things we're supposed to want, but there's a hollow echo where a sense of purpose should be. Let me tell you about a friend of mine. Let's call her Jane. Jane was a talented graphic designer working for a top agency. She was winning awards, earning a great salary, living the dream. But every morning, she'd sit in her car before walking into that shiny office building and just breathe. It felt like she was holding her breath all day, only to exhale in that quiet moment of solitude. The passion she once had for art was now just a series of deadlines and client demands. She was successful, but she wasn't thriving. She was moving, but not growing. This feeling, this shared silence, is what we're going to talk about today. And more importantly, we're going to talk about how to find our voice in it. What Jane was experiencing, and what many of us feel, has a name in psychology. It's called a lack of self-determination. It's a powerful theory about what truly drives us as human beings. Back in the 1970s and 80s, two psychologists, Edward Desai and Richard Ryan, started to question the prevailing idea that rewards and punishments were the only things that motivated us. They proposed that we have an innate, natural tendency to grow and be self-motivated. Their research, known as self-determination theory, or SDT, suggests that to feel truly motivated and fulfilled, we all need 3 essential psychological nutrients. Think of them as the vitamins for your soul. The first one is autonomy. This isn't about being completely independent or rebellious. It's the need to feel that you are the author of your own life, that your choices and actions are your own. Think about the difference between practicing an instrument because your parents make you versus practicing because you're lost in the music and the desire to create. The first is a chore. The second is a calling. That's autonomy. The second nutrient is competence. This is our need to feel effective and capable in what we do. We want to master challenges and feel a sense of accomplishment. Remember when you first learned to ride a bike? The scraped knees were worth it for that incredible moment when you finally found your balance. That feeling of, "I did it," that's the satisfaction of competence. The third, and perhaps the most soulful, is relatedness. This is the need to feel connected to others, to care for and be cared for by those around you. It's about belonging. It's that feeling of laughing with friends until your stomach hurts, or the quiet understanding with a loved one that needs no words. We are fundamentally social creatures. So, autonomy, competence, and relatedness. When these 3 needs are met, we experience what is called intrinsic motivation. We do things because they are inherently interesting and satisfying, not just for an external reward. A key study by Deci in 1971 illustrated this beautifully. He had 2 groups of students solving puzzles. One group was paid for each puzzle they solved. The other wasn't. Initially, the paid group was more motivated. But when the rewards were stopped, their interest in the puzzles plummeted, even more so than the group that was never paid. This is called the over-justification effect. The external reward had undermined their autonomy, turning play into work. The joy of solving the puzzle for its own sake
was lost. So let's go back to Jane. Her job gave her competence. She was good at it. It might have even given her a sense of relatedness with her colleagues. But it stripped her of her autonomy. Her creativity was no longer her own. It belonged to the client, to the deadline, to the quarterly report. Her why was replaced with a what. What do they want? What is the deadline? What is the budget? The intrinsic joy of creating was gone. And it's not just in our jobs. Think about a student who crams for an exam just to get a good grade versus one who genuinely loves the subject. One is motivated by external pressure, the other by an internal spark. Or consider exercise. Are you dragging yourself to the gym because you feel you should, or because you found a form of movement that you genuinely enjoy and makes you feel strong? The social environment we're in plays a huge role. A supportive boss, a teacher who encourages curiosity, or friends who celebrate your growth can foster these needs. Conversely, a controlling environment, whether at work, school, or even at home, can stifle them, leading to that feeling of alienation and burnout. Self-determination theory isn't about blaming the world for our problems. It's about understanding the fundamental psychological needs that we all share. It's a map that can help us navigate away from the silent shores of have to and towards the vibrant lands of want to. When I first learned about this theory, something clicked. It felt less like a psychological concept and more like a gentle truth I had always known but couldn't articulate. We live in a world that often celebrates the extrinsic, the salary, the job title, the number of followers. We are handed scripts for what a successful life should look like. But self-determination theory whispers a different story. It suggests that true well-being is quieter, more internal. It's not about the noise of applause, but the hum of engagement. It's the quiet satisfaction of a craftsman sanding a piece of wood, not for the sale, but for the love of the grain. It's the shared laughter in a community garden, where the harvest is secondary to the connection. It reminds me that our inner world is like a garden. Autonomy is the freedom to choose what seeds to plant. Competence is the feeling of the sun and rain helping them grow. And relatedness is the ecosystem of other plants and insects that make the garden thrive. You can't force a flower to bloom. You can only provide the right conditions. And we too need the right conditions to flourish. Finding your self-determination isn't a grand overnight transformation. It's a series of small, conscious choices. It's asking yourself, where can I find a little more choice in my day? What small skill can I practice and improve? Who can I connect with in a meaningful way today? It's about reclaiming your own narrative, finding the small pockets of your life where you can be the author, not just the actor. My friend Jane, she eventually left the big agency. She started her own small studio, taking on projects she was passionate about, even if they were less prestigious. She reconnected with her old art school friends, forming a collective. She's not as wealthy, but she's richer in a way that money can't buy. She's no longer holding her breath. So if you are sitting in that shared silence, hearing that whisper of why, know that you are not alone, and know that the voice you're searching for is your own. It's the voice of your own autonomy, competence, and relatedness waiting to be heard. Listen to it, nurture it, because your story is yours to write. Take care.